Hello, everybody. Sheikh Hasina was recently ousted from our country, Bangladesh. I read her chart, I read her horoscope, and was surprised to see so many resemblances of her real life events, which is so clearly evident in her horoscope. Sheikh Hasina was born on 28th of September 1946 in Dhaka, Bangladesh. She is of Scorpio Ascendant, and we all know that Scorpio Ascendants people are little secretive in nature, and so was she. She is currently running a Venus Mahadasha. Venus in this case is markesh for her because it is a lord of the seventh house in her horoscope, and all this unfortunate event and incident which happened during the Mahadasha of Venus, which is a markesh in her chart. Venus is placed in the 12th house of her Lagna chart. We all know that 12th house in Vedic astrology, it represents political asylum, loneliness, imprisonment. It represents unnecessary losses, expenses, losses of all kinds, losses of lives, losses of material, health, everything. So in this Mahadasha, not only did she have to leave her country, ask for political asylum, but also this Mahadasha continues, and this may be a little troublesome for her. This may be a little, I would say, she needs to be very careful because this Mahadasha is still on, and people may try to, bring harm to her. So, because the Lagna Lord is seated in the 12th house, whenever the Lagna Lord is seated in the 6th, 8th, or 12th, all the Trik Bhavs, we find that such person need to be very, very careful about her health. And also, since it is a Vrishchik Lagna and it is a Venus Mahadasha, the Lord of Vrishchik Lagna is Mars and Mahadasha is Venus, and Mars and Venus are not friends in Vedic astrology. So this is even a more difficult time for her because the Mahadasha which she is running and the Lagna Lord are not friends in Vedic astrology. We should also know that she has a Mercury and Sun conjunction in the 11th house of her horoscope, which in Vedic astrology is the Ekadshesh Bhav. 11th house brings profit. 11th house is the house of gains. 11th house is the house of connect with influential people in the society, your friends. So Buddhaditya Rajyog undoubtedly makes her a super intelligent woman. There is no doubt about it. Mercury and Sun also shows that if her father was in politics, she would also be in politics. Means in any chart, if you see a Mercury and Sun conjunction, it is an indication that you will also be kind of in the same profession as your father was. Because in Vedic astrology, Sun is the representation of father and Mercury is your education. But most importantly, this also shows, as Mercury is exalted in her chart, that she was a great businesswoman. And everything, every human being, every transaction, everything in her life was a profit and loss statement. And this is probably why her fundamental nature of being seeing only profit brought her downfall. Well, we all know that the reason for downfall was many. Basically, she was persistent in the quota reservation system in Bangladesh. Bangladesh in general, we all know there are very few private jobs. So the students of that country are largely dependent upon the government jobs. Because the private industry has largely garments, fabric, etc. And it is not able to cater to the employment of that country, employment requirement of that country. So the students are largely dependent upon the government quota. But unfortunately, for the last 40 years, the quota system was largely for the grandchildren of freedom fighters, their relatives, etc. Reservation was very high. After a lot of resistance, after a lot of coup from the students, she brought down the reservation and she opened it for the students. So 93% free and 7% still she made reservation for the grandchildren of freedom fighters, for against which the students again protested and they came out on the streets. This dictatorial nature of Sheikh Hasina uh, really, costed her seat, because in one of her interviews on 18th of July, she very arrogantly said, that if the quota will not be given to the grandchildren of the freedom fighters, then will the quota be given to the Razakars? And this sentence of her created a great ruckus, and the entire student fraternity came out on the roads. The movement was so large, it was a mass movement, and it had the capacity to topple the government. In the mob which came down on the streets, there were slogans of Razakar, Razakar, and there was a slogan called as "Tu ke, mai ke, Razakar, Razakar," means who are you, who am I, Razakar, Razakar. Because she used this statement in one of the interviews on 18th of July, openly in press conference, saying that who Razakars are not worthy of getting a reservation. And this initiated the spark, and it led into a very, very difficult movement against her. Now, Saturn is placed in the ninth house of her horoscope. Saturn is looking at the third house, which is the house of speech and communication. So sometimes, unknowingly, unintentionally, you say something which hurt the feelings of others. In such case, it hurted the feelings of her public. Saturn in the ninth house, being a malefic planet, being placed in Kark Rashi, Cancer, not a very comfortable position for her father. We all know that her father, Mujibur Rahman, was murdered, assassinated in 1975. Saturn in ninth house had to bring some problem, and it brought it in such a gruesome manner that it left a scar in her memory. So Saturn in the ninth house created the downfall and the murder and the assassination of her father. There is also a Kal Sarp dosh in her Kundli. That means all planets are between Rahu and Ketu, which is adding to the misery and her downfall. Well, it all started on 18th of July. It sparked, and she ordered for shoot at sight order. Hundreds and thousands of students were killed. 36 unknown bodies were buried without bringing it to the notice of public, because they could have created a spark, and it really went wild. So she should not have done this. And then she blocked the internet, she blocked all the 4G systems, and there was an internet curfew in the country, and all the students had to face the wrath of not getting connected to each other. This even united the students and the political parties and the military more. So finally, all the political parties, the military, the students, they got united, and they ousted this prime minister, and she had to leave the country in disgrace. And this movement became a more radical fundamentalist movement, which looted the shops, which just killed people left, right, and center. People were lynched. 28 people from her cabinet ministry were hanged to death. So this led rise to anarchy. But largely, all this was very, very visible in her horoscope. And also that whenever the Saturn-Sun conjunction happens, Saturn is clearly by its third drishti looking at Sun. There is always a resistance, difference in opinion with the government authorities. Mars was aspecting Rahu, which made her suspicious against the military and the army of her country, and which evidently was instrumental in bringing down her throne. Always remember, I have said that in many of my videos, that the Saturn's 10th drishti cannot be taken lightly. Saturn has 3 drishtis, 3, 7 and 10. The 10th drishti is the karmic drishti, and this is normally there to punish a person of his bad deeds. So wherever Saturn is placed, you count 10th from that place, and in her case the 10th drishti was falling on the 6th house, which is the house of enemies, which is very evident that the entire country became her enemy. The military, all the political parties, her own political party, the opposition, the students, everybody got together, everybody got united, because 6th house is the house of enemies. So Saturn's 10th drishti on the 6th house also became a cause of her downfall. So a lot of things were very, very clearly mentioned in the horoscope. Her 12th house is really strong, but in this case she is running a markesh Mahadasha. She has to be very careful about her health. She has to be very careful about her life. Any kind of attempt can be made on her life. She can be poisoned, because Venus also represents chemicals, and Venus in the 12th house, although it is considered to be good for having branded possessions, materialistic pleasure, but still it is markesh in this kundli, because this is the lord of the 7th house. Lord of the 7th house, Markesh Dasha, always brings Mrityu Tulya Kasht. It brings a very, very difficult period in one's life. So this is all I had to say. I did a small study and thought of making this video. I hope you have liked it. In case you need any horoscope consultation from me, you can always get in touch with me at 9742881188. Thank you for watching this video.